Ninth grade.
Good morning, ninth grade. We're on week 3 of remote online learning. This week, we're going to start a new unit. We're focusing on poetry. So this week, we're going to take a really slow, comfortable ease into different types of poems. I'm going to share the screen with you. So our focus objective number 1, we're starting from the top again, is I can analyze the message of the poem. So what we're going to do in the live session, if you're there to join us, is just read through 5 different poems, and we're going to consider what we think the speaker of the poem is trying to convey to the audience. What's the message that the poet is trying to send? After our mindful minute, which we'll take as a group, if you're not with us, please take a mindful minute. It's super important for your mental health to slow down and breathe. We have our first poem.
Hope by Linnet, age 15. When you can count the stars behind clouds and read tea leaves in a tea bag, that's like hope. Watering plants in the rain, tuning a harp and tuning it back again, that's hope. Breathing life into glass on the back seat of a bus, staying on till it clears. Writing poems on Mondays, kneading bread out of air. Hope.
You want to just think about what's the message the poet is trying to send to the audience. How do you know that? What do you think?
Feel free to pause any of these poems while we're reading them. That way you'll have more time to read it on the screen.
A poem by Sergio. Sometimes change comes upon us with such speed that there is no perception of time. It simply advances like cars on the road or a crowd on the street. With or without me, everything has its end or beginning, its outcomes or entanglements, for good or for bad. And people will come into my life and I will lose them without noticing how much they are worth.
I Want to Write a Poem by Alejandro, age 17. One perfect poem filled with all the feelings and final happiness. A poem in colors and also in black and white. A cold poem, but hot too. A poem of bad noise and praises to God, depending on how you see it, depending how you are. If you see the bad things or the precious moments. And that reminds me how holy it has to be. All of that on a single page.
A good strategy to think about what the message is not to just look at the words in the poem, but also look at the titles of these poems as we read them. Grandmother. I see her applying a cream on her soft brown skin and rushing to the door to grab her slippers. 10 minutes. 10 minutes go by and I see her walking slow as a turtle and 10 minutes go by and I see her walking slow as a turtle and the shaking like a leaf. Knock, knock, can I come in? She's my mother's mom, my grandmother, my inheritance, 70 years old, and with all her battles, she wakes up every morning and smiles with the mouth of a month-old baby. A tea and toast, here, my love, here. She hands the tea to me first. It's wobbling like a jelly and the toast is strangely cut, the cut of love. Oh, how I love this endless routine. By Najma Omar, age 16.
People pleaser. This is how to smile through your teeth, a smile that is reassuring but doesn't look staged. This is how to stir the chicken noodle soup which you have always despised, and how to let it simmer so at least she knows you tried. This is how to listen, but only hear white noise. This is how you structure a PEE paragraph, so you can seem civilized. This is how to stand tall so that you're not as low as your self-esteem. This is how to sit upright so you don't hurt your back or her pride. This is how to lose weight to finally wear that dress she bought you in size 8. This is how you later hang that same top up to avoid a debate about how you'll attract negative attention and get in a state and it'll be too late. This is how you pretend to like mom's new boyfriend and let his views on life not turn your stomach. This is how you scrub the kitchen surface squeaky clean Don't do a half job, she'll make a scene. This is how you write a poem. For the chapters of life you don't read aloud. This is how you accept a compliment with a smile that you don't believe in. This is how you sew a sleeve. This is how to close your eyes so you can breathe. By Aisha, 15.
So we just read through 5 poems together. You have the option of choosing one of those 5 poems that you prefer, the poem that you like the most. Or if you click on this part of the PowerPoint, this link will take you to a woman named Kate Clancy's Twitter account. And on that account, she has tons and tons of poems written by students your age.
Ms. Clancy teaches poetry to students in England. She teaches a lot of English language learners and immigrants. And so her students' poems come from a variety of points of view because her students come from so many different backgrounds. So if none of these 5 that we've given you really speak to you, I would say first try again with the 5 that we gave you, because otherwise you might drown in the many, many, many poems that she has on her page. But if you're up for a challenge, then please click through to Kate Clancy's Twitter page. The easiest way to find all the poems is just to go through her media, because she posts the poems as pictures in her feed, and pick one of those poems instead.
If we were able to have our Zoom classroom like normal, there was a poll that we created that had a couple of options for what we thought the main message of a poem by Sergio was. And some of those were
acceptance, change, isolation.
And so any of those messages, I think you could argue, come out in that poem. But really just think about why you believe that that's the message that the poet or the narrator of the poem is trying to convey to the audience. Why are they talking about change? How are they talking about change? In what ways you get the understanding that this poet is trying to convey something about acceptance or accepting things, okay? After you pick the poem of your choice, you want to do the following steps. Read your poem out loud, just the way Mr. Allen and I read these poems out loud. Step 2, think about why you selected that poem. Did you choose that poem because it reminds you of something in your own life, or maybe because it was totally different and you wanted to stretch yourself to connect to something that you normally wouldn't? What do you think the message of the poem is? And how did the poet use interesting language to engage you? How is the way that the poet wrote the poem appealing to you as the audience reading the poem? So your assignment today, guys, is to choose one poem that you really like. You can read the poem out loud, talk about it with a family member or a friend. You can FaceTime with your friends if you want, or talk to somebody that's in your household, and make sure that you're ready to take that poem and use it throughout the rest of the week. We'll give you some more further instruction tomorrow on what to do. Just make sure that you have that poem that you like and that you're ready to work with it for the next few days.